Hello, ladies and gents. Welcome back to Bulgarian on-fest LAN coverage with yours truly, Chaos TV. I am edited joined by Spuddington, and we are in game number 2 here in the picks and bans phase. Hopefully, Spud, from the viewer's perspective, and indeed our perspective, Guru could have a bit of a better performance after that game 1. It was very one-sided in the end.
It was indeed, but there were a couple of glimmers of hope. They did have some really solid team fights, but they can't allow themselves to fall behind in the way they did. That AD carry matchup between Holy Phoenix and LT just went so far against the Caitlyn. It was just such an unpleasant matchup to watch, almost, because it was a domination station, if you will, and they cannot afford that.
Yeah, so true. I can't really add anything to that. It was just painful. It was right in the feels for me personally to see one lane getting shut down so heavily. But regardless, the bans are coming in. Zed, Zac, Ari, Shen, Aatrox, and Kassadin. 2 of those bans are directly going against themselves here, which is interesting. So Dark Passage clearly respecting the champions of Aatrox and Kassadin that they were rocking out in game number 1.
Yeah, well, Aatrox is a very popular pick right now. And Kassadin is incredibly strong in the right circumstances. He's one of those ones where you can't just first pick him reliably, so maybe I'm a little bit surprised that Dark Passage went for that, considering they have the last pick available to them. But banning that out does make a certain degree of sense. He's also one of those ones that can carry a game almost single-handed, so maybe just trying to keep that possibility away, because it's fairly safe for Dark Passage to rely on the fact that they played fairly well as a team last game.
Oh, they did, definitely. And the synergy that they have, this kind of well-oiled machine of pushing down the mid all together. We had that one big team fight, which we were calling before it kicked off. If this does begin, Dark Passage are in a much more stable, kind of advantageous position. That's exactly what happened. They ended up crushing the team fight, I believe 3-0 or somewhere around that vicinity. But the picks are starting to come in here. Thrasher was left, slipped through the gaps. Will be first locked in for Guru. That's going to leave Zyra and Lee Sin. Riosta plays a very strong Lee Sin. We saw this yesterday in Group A when I was casting in the morning. And Crow Assassins hovering over the Zillion. Would not expect to see that locked in though.
No, if you don't know what you're up against in the mid lane, and if you do know you're probably up against an aggressive jungler, Zillion seems like quite a dangerous pick. And certainly they're not going to run him anywhere else but mid with support already locked in, unless it's something really funky like an AD Thresh top, which I've seen a couple of times. But no, I'd imagine, yeah, there we go, switching it out for the Elise at the last second.
Yeah, man, no surprises on the Corki pick. As we said in game number 1, Triforce AD carries are really coming to prominence, and Corki is one of those. Definitely fits the bill. Elise is a high maneuverable champion in the jungle, assuming it will be played in the jungle, and that we've seen this a lot in World Finals. We've seen it a lot of the high levels of competitive play. It's just a very strong champion all around. And this time around, actually, Caitlyn's going to be locked in for Dark Passage. So maybe Holy Phoenix is going to tap LT on the shoulder and say, this is how you play the Caitlyn.
Well, the thing about Caitlyn versus Corki is it's actually a matchup that's pretty favorable for Caitlyn. Corki's burst is not something he can use directly on Caitlyn. It takes him too long to get in after an auto attack, get that auto, and then Q himself. He can only ever really trade auto attacks at best, and with that range difference, it's very, very difficult to deal with. So yeah, we'll see how that matchup goes, if it even happens as a matchup, but I can't see any real incentive for 2v1 lanes at the moment.
Yeah, absolutely. Because Corki's quite a short-range AD carry in the aspect of all of the abilities and the burst that he does, and Caitlyn, of course, is what known as one of the longest-range AD carries from level 1. Double AD composition coming out here from Dark Passage, although I'm assuming that's going to be Ezreal mid as AD, as the case may be. Seen this a lot on Worlds as well. Teams like Lemon Dogs, SKT as well have been running the duo lane AD carries, and it's more often than not Ezreal mid, and it works very well if you know how to conjunct this together. That being said though, with the Zyra, they don't have a great deal of AP damage, so it's going to be interesting to see what they lock in last.
Ooh, this is interesting though by Guru here, going for that Rumble and Malphite. So could be a Malphite mid, could be a Rumble mid, those two are interchangeable. I would expect it would be the Malphite kind of by default. Build a couple of Doran's Rings, maybe a Haunting Guise and Sork Shoes, and you can actually do a very significant amount of burst in your early kind of mid-game phase. You're still also decently tanky, but at the moment it's actually looking like, hang on here, like an Evelyn mid, I guess, which would work against both of those picks.
It could be Evelyn mid. They could potentially go for Evelyn jungle and maybe Lee Sin laning. Not entirely sure. So they have quite versatile picks here. Okay, Ryze would make a lot of sense as well. As I said before, with this double AD composition, you definitely do want to have a bit of AP damage. Otherwise, Malphite is just loving it because he scales well off armor anyway, and having just AD stacked against you, I mean, he can just effectively build full armor and be fine. So it's smart for Dark Passage here to say, okay, well, we need some AP, lock in the Ryze, who in himself is very strong. Get some farm on Ryze, he becomes a tanky badass.
Yeah, it's really, really tough to deal with the farmed up Ryze. Range nerfs a few patches ago did kind of reduce his play quite significantly, but matchup of Ryze versus Malphite or Ryze versus Rumble seems to me like it would probably go in Ryze's favor in the long term. Probably start outscaling Malphite in terms of damage trading relatively early on. Rumble maybe a little bit later, but regardless on that, it's going to be, I think, up at least a little bit to Elise to make something happen. Although I guess with Malphite, if he is building like decent amounts of AP early on, he might be able to just do too much burst for Ryze to cope with.
That is true. Only time is going to see and tell going into this game, but there is a lot of engage and AoE damage coming out here from Guru, which I really like, especially against the double AD composition, because, you know, fair enough, Ezreal has the Arcane Shift and the 90 caliber net coming from Caitlyn, but you have to have a lightning quick reactions to dodge out of the Unstoppable Force, followed by the Equalizer. So what I'd expect to see happen is Unstoppable Force going first, then the Equalizer, and then Thresh jumping in with the box. It's very difficult to get away from that, and Corki's going to be on the outsides, just melting down people left, right, and center. At least that's the idea that Guru are going to be going into this game with. That being said, though, Spud, they're against the Zyra, and Zyra's kind of queen when it comes to just sticking down Stranglethorn and saying, you will not pass, you're going to go and get knocked in the air.
Yeah, there's a lot of potential for Dark Passage to kite backwards with this comp. With Ezreal, with Caitlyn, they're very, very good at just kind of netting backwards, jumping backwards, getting out of the line of fire, and kind of forming like... So if you imagine, and this is going to become kind of almost like describing ship movements, but if you imagine, you know, Guru going really hard into the center of Dark Passage, and Dark Passage kind of folding away, they end up as kind of almost like a moon shape around that, but that actually gives them more ability to kind of focus their fire inwards, as it were, which with double AD and a Ryze is definitely going to be a lot of punishment, but so vulnerable to burst. That's the thing about a comp like this from Dark Passage. If Malphite ever hits like super critical mass where he is able to actually 100-0 someone, depending on whether he's going AP actually, by the way, he's not by the looks of it, but if they can get enough burst out to just kill someone instantly, it could be really bad for Dark Passage.
I feel like a lot of this is going to come down to positioning from the two teams, and no disrespect to LT, but his positioning in game number 1 is not giving me a great deal of faith. So Corki is one of those champions, you know, he does have the escape with the Valkyrie, but if he is, especially against characters like Ryze, if you go into 20, 30, 35, 40 minutes through this game and Corki's out of position, he's going to get rune prisoned, and then afterwards he's going to get absolutely decimated from both Holy Phoenix and Naru. So a lot of this, I feel, if Guru wants to take this into that third all-important decisive game, is going to come down to how well they position and how well they engage. It's all well and good having Unstoppable Force and Equalizer. If you whiff them, that's a lot of your power taken off the plate.
Yeah, that is definitely true. Ezreal hanging around has been death sentenced.
Oh my god, so they're actually jumping in, and the Ignite as well. That's going to be first blood going to Elise. And just in case that Naru was in the wrong place at the wrong time, a bit curious what he was doing that on his own, though.
I think he was just looking to maybe get like a speculative steal on the red buff. Like just throw a Mystic Shot over the wall, get a lucky shot, maybe get that red buff. That could be a really high reward play. But was not ready for the fact that that area was warded. understandably, because the only reason it was warded was to prevent level 1 invades, and he didn't think about that because he wasn't going for a level 1 invade there. But it really, really hurt him when he discovered that was in fact warded.
Yeah, absolutely, and it's not just the fact that he's had the shame of being the recipient of First Blood, but because he went back to the Death Chamber at around 1 minute 50, he has rejoined the fray later than Zamano Rex is already hit level 2, so Naru is a level behind right now. Fair enough, he's about to hit 2 himself, but if it stays this way in mid, of course Malphite will be hitting that danger with the Unstoppable Force before Naru has his True Shot Barrage. However, if there's one thing we know about Dark Passage, Spuddington, it's not likely that's going to remain the case. Ryosta is going to get himself involved, especially when he plays Lee Sin. He's so aggressive.
Yeah, he is hanging around that mid lane right now, and you can actually see the I'm on my way ping coming down, but he has been spotted if Zamano Rex was paying attention.
Yeah, so here he comes around from the side, and Zamano actually was not paying attention because here comes a lot of damage. Temple and the Tempest and the Cripple, I should say, and quick maneuverability back again. Holy Phoenix is flashing up red here at bot lane. Barrier has been used off. Can they turn this one back around? Yes, they can. They're going to pick up 1 kill at the cost of their AD carry. LT's been forced to flash away, and the auto attacks very nearly paying out dividends for Holy Thoth. The barrier was burnt once again. However, Holy is right behind Corki, lands the Grasping Root, and that is going to be the double kill at bot lane coming in for Dark Passage.
So one of the interesting things that Holy Thoth is doing... Oh wow, at top lane though.
Yeah, top lane rises in a lot of trouble here. Cocoon misses though. Fab will just be juking out the way of that one, and he should be able to escape this onslaught, I feel, back to his tower. Indeed he will. If that Cocoon landed, it's an ironclad certainty that Fabulous would have been in the Death Chamber as well.
Yes, very, very fortunate for him. Just a little bit of a choke there, I feel, by Crow Assassin. That's just what happens sometimes. However, that has given him an angle to appear behind Naru, but Ryosta is there, and they know it.
Yeah, Naru he's not in a great position. However, here comes Lee Sin round from the side. Cocoon misses again. So Crow Assassin's aim has been slightly off thus far in the matchup. Hopefully that is going to change. But that First Blood for Elise, once Crow Assassin does manage to get the ball rolling, should be quite scary. And actually, Dako is in a bit of a sticky situation. Another Cocoon misses. That's 3 out of 3 in the last few moments for Crow Assassin. And if even 2 of them had landed, it could definitely have been a couple more kills to his team.
Yeah, and especially the one on Rise was just, it was his mistake. There was no juke that could have saved that.
Oh, bot lane as well, the Dark Passage will be engaging very heavily. This could backfire as Corki will pick up that kill. Death Sentence landed before. It's on cooldown right now. Ryosta's gone hyper aggressive. This could prove to be his downfall. Jumping back in. Beautiful mechanical skill as the rappel came up. But now Holy Phoenix forced to flash away. Another miss for the Cocoon. And that one honestly wasn't even close.
Yeah, I think now he's kind of getting into the point of kind of going on tilt with respect to his Cocoons. He's now kind of second guessing his Cocoon aiming skills, and that's causing him to miss more, which is going to make the problem worse. At top though, Jesper finds Fabulous.
Yeah, recalling with his pants down, but chugging through that health potion, actually flashing in. He is so hungry for this kill. I honestly did not think at any point in time that kill was on. Now Seismic Shard lands. I'm still scratching my head a tiny bit at Jesper's play there. Fab's kind of tanky, and just no.
If he had had Ignite, it would have been possible because he might have been able to land another auto, but saying if I had Ignite, it's not like it was his opponent's Ignite he was failing to calculate in, it was his own. So, yeah, I really don't see how that was a kill option.
Holy Thoth should be falling here. Nice Lantern into the gank from Elise. So, and it's going to be Corki picking that one up. Crow Assassin has his recall cancelled from the passive, courtesy of Zyra, but as you say completely correctly, it's not a case that you're second guessing what the opposition's going to do. He knew his Ignite wasn't up, and therefore he knew that kill wasn't on. So it's not like he had an equalizer and he could kind of capitalize on that afterwards. It's a case you flashed in for absolutely nothing.
Slightly odd choice, I agree, but he is now potentially in a dangerous spot if Lee Sin comes up there and waits, but it doesn't look like he's going to. We do have a teleport coming in at bottom lane in a slightly odd place.
Interesting.
Wait,
maybe.
What did he even teleport to?
He teleported to, there was a ward in a Yeah, I'm not too sure why he teleported down. I'm going to be honest.
I think maybe he was looking for a speculative jump on Holy Phoenix behind the tower. But yeah, that was strange, and Riosta has been found.
Yes, he has. This time the cocoon misses, but to be fair to Crow Assassin, it was a ward jump, so it would have connected if Riosta was still running in the same position. I just realised it wasn't a ward, I believe it was the lantern. It was
yeah, that would make
lantern
sense.
coming through. Actually, here comes the hard engaged unstoppable force, and Equalizer come down on Naru. He has already Arcane shifted away. Here comes the barrier. Can he bait in some more damage as Riosta's coming around from the side? However, Naru will be falling. Lee Sin now changing the focus, will pick up one. Could potentially claim the second as the Q will be landing Sonic Wave and Resonating Strike. Jesper's trying his best to escape this onslaught. Crow Assassin in from the side and the Repel as well. Can the Cocoon finally land here? If it does, it's going to be a kill. In fact, they don't even need it as Crow Assassin will pick up that one there.
Bot lane.
And yeah, bot lane, lots of action kicking off globally. Holy Thoth could be falling right now. The Phosphorus Bomb lands. They do have the vision going into the bush there. Dako with the Dark Passage will be getting Corki into range, but now LT gets Holy Phoenix, who's missed his Piltover Peacemaker. Here comes Elise from the side. Barrier was used. Finally, a Cocoon lands and will signify the end of Holy Phoenix's life.
And Dark Passage not looking nearly so good as they did last game. Naru is having a fair bit of trouble in this mid lane right now. He is 0-2. You've got Corki getting a lot more kills than he did previously. And indeed probably is already getting close to, you know, as much additional gold earned as he did in the last game, because he had a horrible game last time. Regardless though, looking much, much better than they were. Now they need to capitalize this. Now they need to try and start getting some towers down and start looking for that dragon play, because when they've got that Malphite ulti up, when they've got that Rumble ulti up, they have an almost unparalleled dragon fight.
They certainly do, and you know, all credit to Guru Gaming. After that first game, it would be very easy to let doubt start to creep in, to kind of let it niggle away at you and think, oh god, you know, we're so far behind in that first game, can we possibly bring this one back? All credit to LT as well. Had a fairly sad first game, but is bouncing back in the best possible way here. 5-1 with Corki. Has the components other than the zeal of the Triforce. Is very scary right now for Holy Phoenix. And whereas in that first game, Spud, we talked about this in a break, we feel maybe Holy Phoenix wasn't really respecting LT very much. This time he definitely is. He's not starting to go hyper aggressive. He's not running into the face of LT. He's back at his own tower with his tail between his legs. As you're talking about previously with the aforementioned Drake fight capabilities of Guru Gaming, they've just pushed right in here and it's going to be for free.
Yeah, no, Dark Passage do not want to fight that at all. Guru maybe have overcommitted here. This is going to give Fabulous a chance to take this top tower perhaps. But if they had then gone for that 5-man stack at the bot lane, they could have guaranteed that tower. Or possibly even if they'd gone for the mid too. So I'm actually a little bit surprised they didn't. But they could still try and find something here. They've got a lot of hard engage in the mid lane and multiple sources of hard CC that are fairly reliable to land.
They certainly do, but question now, Dark Passage. We've not seen them really behind thus far in this tournament, this on-fest Bulgarian LAN. They've always been ahead, they've always taken the early advantage and forced it home. How do they play from behind? Because they're definitely behind right now. Riosta with the insect mechanics on Zamano Rex, who's instantly just unstoppable, forcing his way back towards Lee Sin. So very quick reactionary play here from Malphite, Elise round from the side. This is hyper aggressive from Riosta, and he's going to find himself 6 foot under. Again, I'm not too sure about that play. It's kind of hyper aggressive just for the sake of being so.
Yeah, he got a really funky angle on that Lee Sin kick, which really didn't work out for him. And then there was just the fact that, actually the bot lane.
And, yeah, Stranglethorns come down, box instantly used from Dako, ace in the hole, nice flash from LT. Good guy LT, saving his support's life, very nearly replying back onto Holy Phoenix. That is the power of an early Phage and Sheen on Corki, and do manage to pull that back, but a beautiful flash.
But yeah, it was a really funky angle on that Lee Sin kick in the mid lane. And then I think he was like, I've gone under now, I've got to get out of here somehow. But he just didn't, I don't think he really thought the play through the whole way. Because Unstoppable Force is unstoppable. And if it had hit him under tower, that would have been a guaranteed death. And even if he didn't, it was a very risky one. They just don't have the means to burst down someone like Malphite. Especially when he's got so much armor now.
Exactly, and as I was saying, that's because of this duo AD carry composition they have running. Malphite wants armor at the best of times, never mind when you put an Ezreal and a Caitlyn up against him. Fair enough, Ezreal does a fair amount of magic damage. Here comes a repel from Crow Assassin, firing out the cocoon. Will be landing on the minion, so Naru will be just fine. But yeah, Ezreal's going to do a bit of magic damage because of the Triforce build I'm sure he's going to build into, which does pretty nice on both his Essence Flux and his ultimate, along with his Arcane Shift and Mystic Shot. But still, you know, Malphite can just go ahead and he can finish off these armor items, Glacial Shroud and also the Giant's Belt. He's very tanky at this stage of the game.
Yeah, I think what they need to do right now, Guru, if it comes to a team fight, Ryze is getting fairly farmed up. Ezreal not having such a good game, and neither is Caitlyn. If they are able to just straight up burst out Ryze and make that their kind of objective every fight, actually Flash Flay.
A Dyrus play there at bot lane as Holy Phoenix will be going down. Now going to be looking for that second kill. This tower is no longer standing, so you do not have the Sanctuary. Thoth forced to just pop down the Grasping Roots, which will be landing here. And of course, Thaco burning that flash. The reason I say Dyrus play is because if you hadn't seen, TSM were playing some strange change about of compositions with Dyrus taking Thresh support. And he was doing that all day long.
Yeah, it's, you know, they're all very, very solid players and they can all play all of those roles, and that's kind of almost just having fun. I suspect that was at the stages where they were already effectively out.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it makes sense. So, regardless though, if they can burst out Ryze in these fights, they have a significant chance of of letting Zamano Rex build nothing but armor and then being completely okay with it. And I think the next point of contention we're going to see is both this mid lane and the top.
Well, speaking of the top, that's exactly what's happening here. Riosta firing out the Q, the Sonic Wave. It did not land. Then Crow Assassin, to his credit, you know, fair enough, his cocoons may not have been on point, but he's all over the map right now. Of course, that first blood is definitely going to be helping from the mistake that Naru made. Just kind of wrong place, wrong time at red buff, but still, Crow Assassin has just been really, really active. Involved in 7 out of his team's 11 kills. You can't really ask for more than that. I'm going to be spamming Riosta and also Fabulous behind the tower here and just pushing this tower very aggressively.
Thresh is hanging around in the area. I don't think he's going to be able to get anything done here though. I just wouldn't want to dive those two. It's too much damage and it's a lot of CC too, but it actually looks like they will go for this.
They are definitely going to equalize it into box. That is some serious CC and damage. Nothing Riosta could do was jumping in between players, but Death Sentence lands and lives up to its name. 2 for 0 trade at top. Don't know if they'll be able to take this tower because the creep wave has just ran out, but maybe they'll go for round number 2. Meanwhile, actually in the mid lane, Naru forced the Arcane Shift away, but that was a beautiful exchange and kind of conjuncture of ultimates on top of each other.
Mid lane.
Yeah, Holy Thoth is being chased down from LT and will be taken out.
You actually saw there though, he managed a brilliant flash, jumped out of the way of an in-flight Malphite ulti. Ooh, Naru.
That was close. Seismic Shard into the Missile Barrage, and I think it was the big one as well. True Shot Barrage comes down as well from Ezreal, and we'll be recalling. But go ahead, Spud, what were you going to say?
Yeah. Holy Thoth actually managed a brilliant flash out of a very close range Malphite ulti. It was so good, playing on instinct basically, because there's no way you can react that fast. Very impressive play out of him, so even though he ended up flashing over the wall and ending up dead, so maybe it wasn't impressive decision making, but very impressive mechanics anyway. And yeah, it's definitely now looking very much like Dark Passage building a bit of a hill for themselves to climb here. They have a great amount of damage late game, but their team fight may actually suffer just because they'll be quite squishy.
Yeah, and the other thing as well is it's all well and good Dark Passage thinking late game we're really scary, but if you don't get to late game, it's all for naught. And right now, Corki's 7-1, Triforce and the components of the Last Whisper. He is going to be decimating everybody for the next 5-10 minutes. It's going to have to be a huge throw from Guru Gaming here, and all credit to them. Rocky game number 1, they've been on point with these objectives. They've been constantly taking Dragon whenever it spawns, and they've got so much presence. They need to be careful though, because in amongst all this, Fabulous is getting free farm at top lane, and he's pushing really aggressively. So they're going to need to go for the jugular at some points, but they can't allow Dark Passage to get to late game.
Yeah, the fortunate aspect is that Fabulous is not going to push down towers very fast. So Malphite teleporting up there will be there in time. And LT is going aggressive once again.
He is. It's like a role reversal from game number 1. Now he's the aggressor, and Naru is forced to rush away there. Ryosta just kind of filling in the blanks for his mid laner, as the case may be. Here comes Rumble from the side, so Jasper against being very aggressive. Just going to be safeguarding back onto Holy Thoth. Dark Passage goes in. I should probably just call it Lantern. It's really confusing to say the Dark Passage goes in against Dark Passage, but that's the name of Thresh's Lantern. It's actually called Dark Passage. Quite confusing.
The Park Passage, yes.
Yes, go for that.
So LT, the Dark Passage's Park Passage has gone into Dark Passage's team. No, but regardless, they are pushing this mid lane now. This will probably fall. I don't see anyone going to be able to get here. Ezreal not up to clear the wave. So, Dark Passage are going to have to be careful not to let themselves get engaged upon right now. But I'm not sure they can really go for a dive, even though Malphite is getting quite a lot of armor. But if they overextend here, Dark Passage have to be very careful. They have now seen the Malphite, though.
They have, and here comes Rise from the top lane. En route does not have a teleport, Ignite and Flash. So it's going to be slow and steady wins the race for Rise. But is there going to be any damage done before he can get into position? Doesn't look likely, because Guru are playing fairly passive right now. Smart play as well from Holy Thoth, realising that the creep wave would aggro onto his plants. It bought the tower a bit more time. Oh, nice Death Sentence will land, and that's all they need to engage. Here comes the Strangle Thorns and the Equalizer as well. However, Zamanarex has gone in so deep right now that he could be falling. Holy Phoenix very nearly dying on top of that as well, as Thresh will take down Lee Sin. So it just goes to show, you get the pick with the Death Sentence, it will live up to the name and will pick up that kill. They got so much heavy engage. Grasping Roots goes down again. They need to be careful though. Fabulous can do quite a bit of damage.
Yeah, and you can see LT actually, in spite of being 7-1, backed out of trading damage with Fabulous. That is how scary a Rise can be, even though they were roughly equal amounts of health at the time. Yeah, very good Death Sentence and good follow-up, but Fabulous has gotten caught.
He has. Here comes a Grasping Root as well. Will this actually backfire? No, it won't. True Shot Barrage comes down, and Holy Thoth, who used that Strangle Thorns just previously, will not be able to do anything other than watch his top laner die. So again, Death Sentence is coming good. And this is the reason why you should ban out Thresh against Guru Gaming. Dako plays a mean Thresh.
Yeah, it's one of those characters where with Thresh it's not quite like Blitzcrank, and you won't be useless even if you can't land a single hook. But if you are that guy that just lands the hook that nobody saw coming, that can be such a powerful tool, especially when you have this much follow-up. When you've got that Elise, when you've got that Malphite, that is so scary to go up against, because the moment you put a foot wrong, the moment you get caught out, you will die. And when you're behind, you can't even really engage, so it's just kind of a matter of waiting and seeing who gets caught out and whether you can counter-engage effectively. But that last time, the counter-engage was under a tower with the Strangle Thorns across several people, still didn't matter.
Exactly. Lots of maneuverability on the side as well, and the flashes on top of that were burnt very quickly once that Strangle Thorns came down. Cocoon going awry again. More optimistic than anything else, but it's strange. I don't know how many of our viewers actually tune into the EOS Challenger series, but it's been a while since I've seen a Thresh have this much impact. It's been Meet Your Makers, actually, when they were playing, but I think that you were on holiday at the time. Libic was playing Thresh, and he was landing hooks like this. They really won his team the game. Death Sentence comes around. This time we'll be missing off. This tower is taking a bit of punishment, however. Malphite taking the front lines. Need to be careful. They're still very respectful of the team of Dark Passage, but there goes the Unstoppable Force. Naru again has been caught out of position. Equalizer beautifully used across so that there is no retaliation at all from Dark Passage. Really good play from Rumble. However, Ace in the Hole comes through. Will be claiming the kill. That is a 1-for-1 trade thus far. Fabulous and Ryosta are so low HP. They have to back off, and that's going to spell the end of the mid tower.
The aggressive arcane shift was immediately punished the moment he saw that happen, and Holy Thoth gets deleted. But Fabulous is coming back in.
Oh, and actually that will be cancelling out the Valkyrie mid-flight there. Fortunately for him, the Lantern came down again from Dako, who's been having such a good game, sacrificing himself to try and buy up the rest of his team, sometimes running into the opposition. and of course Dark Passage will oblige accordingly. However, that will get Crow Assassin, Jesper and LT all out of dodge, and they will be recalling.
Or trying to. Yeah, not easy to recall with people going for you, but gotta be careful he doesn't overcommit here. Caitlyn will punish him fairly hard when he tries to get aggressive in that way. But yeah, that fight going, yes, again it was a dive, and yes, again that did cost Malphite his life, but got them the tower, got them that little bit more map control, got them the gold. It worked out pretty well for Guru, and they are still looking very, very strong, keeping roughly the same gold difference between the two teams, with that extra map control, with that ward control, and getting towards the point where they can start thinking about going for Baron. That's going to come in very valuable soon.
Yeah, definitely. And Malphite will take, definitely, as Amano was thinking, worth it. If you get a 1-for-1 trade and that inner tower in mid lane, the amount of global presence it gives your team on the map to be able to steal away the red, the blue buffs, and the wolves and wraiths respectively is just so good. So Amano being the kind of pioneer for his team and taking one for the team, and ultimately dying, and again with having the inner turret, this just makes Dragon that much easier. It's difficult right now for Dark Passage to get anywhere close to this Drake pit, because if they do, that's when they're really starting to walk on eggshells. They're worried about this hard engage that's going to come out from Malphite.
Yeah, so dealing with the hard engage from Malphite, dealing with it, it's just so hard. That's why Malphite is still a strong pick, in spite of the fact that most of the rest of his kit is good, but not really amazing. He basically, like, the amazing parts of Malphite's kit are his E and his ult. The rest of his kit is, half of it essentially is just, a little bit of damage, a little bit of extra armor, a little bit of extra damage. Nothing particularly impressive about it. But contending with that much, that hard engage that can't be stopped, and the attack speed slow on a double AD comp, it's all going to come down to how Dark Passage play, and thus far they have been unable to play around it. Naru won't make the same mistake, I expect, but unless they can catch someone out, and that's really their only tool for that is an insect maneuver from Lee Sin, they don't have many options but to sit and wait for that pick to happen on them, and Dako will get that eventually.
That's a very good point, actually, that, in terms of engage, Dark Passage are kind of lacking. Their composition is more suited to dealing with dives, but thus far Zamano's been doing such an exquisite job of picking the right moments to strike. A lot of that is down to Naru not having the greatest of games and putting himself in position where he's effectively asking to get crushed. So I'm hoping he's learnt from his mistakes here, but he's done it 2 or 3 times in this game already, and that's one of the reasons why his team find themselves 6,000 gold behind a 19-8. But it looks like Guru are very much respectful. They're not going for these hard engages. Grasping Roots comes down on Rumble. And yeah, they don't want to make a dumb kind of engage. In fact, they have just caught the death sentence onto Riosta, but definitely not the target they were looking for.
Well, they would probably go for him. He's still, he's got Merc Treads and Rod of Ages, but he's not super tanky. And they could catch him and kill him in the right circumstances, but I think now what we're seeing is the weakness of double AD composition, especially when they have picked a top laner like Ryze, who is actually fighting LT.
He is getting really destroyed. Here comes Ace in the Holo. In fact, it will not be going off, and the legendary that comes up from LT as the re-engage coming out as well from the equalizer and the box as well. Flashing up red is Dako, forcing himself away. Here comes Ezreal from the side. Naru picks up his first kill indeed of the game. Looking for a second now. Crow Assassin repelling on up. Can they catch this one? 3 players to find. Here comes the Q in, and the kill finalized as well from Riosta, who flashes away with Ignite ticking down. Now around from the side, now Caitlyn chimes in and picks up a kill and the shutdown, and now Zamano is forced to turn tail and run. The result of that will be a 3 for 4 as the double kill comes in from Corki and the shutdown from Ezreal, so all hell breaks loose. But can Dark Passage do anything off the back of it? I honestly don't think they can. Maybe they can kill Zamano from this position as the safeguard onto Naru happens from Riosta. The flashing from Naru as well. He's completely hungry. He wants this kill. The red mist has descended and the tunnel vision is in effect. And rightfully so, as they pick up the kill and go on a killing spree. fair enough, they got a lot of kills there, but they're not converting it into objectives. That's one of the problems they face.
Yeah, and that mid inhibitor tower also took a lot of damage. That's probably going to be the focus from Guru Gaming in the future. They've got a good target there, and the thing is, if they continue their kind of teamfight dominance, although the goal decrease between the two teams will make that harder for them, if they can juggle kind of that aggro by keeping map control, they can probably take that upper inner tower for free and also threaten Baron at the same time. They can now look for baits on that Baron. They've got a lot of options open to them in the kind of top half of the map, and I wouldn't expect to see a return to bot anytime soon. Guru Dako actually taking quite a lot of damage from the Baron, but he will live at least, which is really all that could be said for him there, actually.
It's like a combination of the grasping root aggroing Baron and also locking him right next to it. So it's like, ow, this kind of hurts, but I can't move yet. So Dako loses half of his HP. Will be recalling back to spawn. But I think one of the key parts of that team fight for Dark Passage, like maybe that's going to give them a bit of a glimmer of hope. They're like, okay, yes, we're back on our back foot. Yes, we're pushed against the wall. It's sink or swim, fight or flight time. But actually, we got a few kills there. We're not completely down and out. We can make this work for us.
I have to feel that some of that, though, was overcommittal by Guru. And possibly they just need to play it a little bit safer and they will continue this teamfight dominance. Because I think it's been mentioned before, but double AD compositions are not what you would kind of expect from a pure power curve perspective. Because people think AD carries strong in the late game, weaker earlier on. But the thing is, if you are so squishy as this, it causes you serious problems in how you can fight your team fights. And they're not even particularly good duelists either. So Dark Passage now.
Oh, TeamSpeak dropped. Are you back, Spud?
I am back, yes. I have no idea whether you heard my last point, so I may repeat it. Essentially, double AD compositions like this are not what you would expect from a pure power curve perspective. Kind of you expect, late game carries to be stronger in the late game, but because of the way they're so squishy, because it's so easy to focus out their damage threats, actually Stranglethorns.
Yeah, Stranglethorns can land on two players. LT going in and out again with the Valkyrie and a Lantern. And now we'll be thinking about pushing down this tower, which only has 669 hit points remaining. Apologies for the sound there before, guys. Apparently TeamSpeak dropped for us for a few moments. So Spud was in the middle of a sentence and I think he kind of got out, but LT going back in. Same tactic again. It's pretty interesting. Like jumping in then back out. Unstoppable Force lands on 3. Equalizer afterwards. Beautiful combination of ultimates. But look at how much damage right now that Guru have taken. Scrap shield used from Jesper just to save his life as that tower will be falling. So at the end of the day, that's a 1-for-0 trade. Box used defensively. Very smart play coming in from Dako. They do get the inhib tower. Question is, can they manage to escape? It does look likely.
Yeah, they should be able to get away with this, although Naru did pick one up there at the end. I believe that was with the True Shot Barrage. So nice little play there, and if Dark Passage can stop them from recalling, they could potentially look to rush the Baron. They don't have vision on several members though, so presumably will not go for that. Yeah, the point I was making way back when was double AD's not as strong late game as people would think just because they get more damage late game than most characters. If you are super squishy, you are still super vulnerable to burst, and they're not good duelist split pushes either on the whole. So you end up kind of getting into an awkward situation. Eventually they might get enough damage they can just power through it on sheer amounts of damage, but it's going to be a long time before they hit that.
What I will say about this game, well, first point is that's the first dragon that Dark Passage have managed to pick up. And the second thing is, even though you look at the scoreline, 23-14 does seem quite one-sided, but there's only a 5.3k goal difference. I mean, that is definitely important. It's not a small chunk of change. It's quite significant. But at 31, nearly 32 minutes through the game, it's not game-breaking, Spuddington. Yes, map presence-wise, it's not great for them because they're 2 towers down. But the point I'm trying to make is, they do have a chance of bringing themselves in. Item-wise, they're not completely behind. If they get a couple of good engages, or they disengage very well, and they punish Guru for making any mistakes, they're right back in this game.
Yeah, they are starting to hit some item breakpoints as well. Jesper actually getting rooted up there. They're getting 3 item AD carry out of Caitlyn there. So she's got that Last Whisper, Bloodthirster, and Phantom Dancer, which is, you know, not going to do as much damage as Corki by any stretch of the imagination, but that's where AD carry damage really starts to scale out of there off of crit. Meanwhile, the poke out of Ezreal is now hitting kind of very significant mass with the Last Whisper, Trinity Force, and Mirror Mana. So, dangerous times, but if they get a hook...
That's what they've done. Death Sentence goes in and instantly the engage is kicking off Fox. Stranglethorns, Unstoppable Force will just be popped off there. Maybe a bit too little too late. This Holy Phoenix will manage to survive with quite a high chunk of health. However, is being chased out from LT. His positioning in the middle of 4 players was far from perfect. And that goes back to something we were speaking about before. Equalizer finally goes down. And we'll be getting the double kill for Rumble as Ace in the hole caught with his pants down around his ankles. But actually, forced to flash over the trap. Simply was not confident in how quick he'd be at escaping this one. Spiderling's blocking off the Mystic shots. The Q find out from Lee Sin as well. But going back to something we said in the very first minute here, Spuddington, positioning is key. Corki was kind of caught in 4 minds. 4 players were surrounding him. He wanted to kill Caitlyn and then changed his mind 2 or 3 times, and in doing so died for nothing. So LT needs to go back on point again. He had a great laning phase. If he starts to make mistakes though, his team will go behind.
Yeah, they're very, very dependent on him for follow-up damage. They've got quite a bit of burst, but other than that, with the fairly tanky Rumble build, they have not got a lot of options to them. And you actually saw at the beginning of that fight, Corki didn't put a lot of damage down, and then kind of in his eagerness to start putting damage down when he got back into the fight, he ended up kind of going much, much too deep. He was doing a ton of damage and bursted Holy Phoenix down very, very low, but not enough to actually finish it. And now it seems like Guru are going for the Baron. They have been spotted out. Rise will appear fairly quickly. They're clearing this Sharpish though. I'm interested to see how this goes.
Yeah, we are on the cusp of something big right now. Grasping Roots comes about. Elise will get the Baron steal. The maneuverability from Riosta though put him in contention to steal the Baron and quickly got himself out again with the safeguard. So that will be a free Baron at the end of the day for Guru. And now they're in a very good position, but as you're saying, completely agree. He did a lot of damage onto Holy Phoenix in the fight, but then just got kind of too antsy. Wanted to jump in and finish off the entirety of the team, and in doing so, kind of played his team out of it. However, they've bounced back in the best possible way. They picked up Baron, and now you can see the respect coming up from Dark Passage. They're like, okay, well, we can't really afford to 5 versus 5 this team right now. They're scary, and they've also got the Baron buff.
Yeah, they've got that in here, and that's going to give them that map pressure advantage. They were starting to lose momentum there. Guru were doing fairly solidly, but they were not doing perfectly by any means, and kind of starting to lose those fights. The item breakpoints I mentioned were starting to come out from Dark Passage, but now it kind of resets to the way we were 5-10 minutes ago, where Guru are uncontestably strong for now. With that inhib pressure coming in, it will make life even more difficult for Dark Passage to deal with that inability to teamfight, but they can still stall very effectively. They've got a lot of wave clear, and I'm actually surprised they didn't jump on Fabulous there.
Yeah, likewise. But maybe, you know, it's a case that they're not overly experienced against people of Dark Passage's caliber, and they're kind of second-guessing themselves a tiny bit. They're like, oh, we've got a good lead, let's not throw it away by doing something dumb. And in doing so, you kind of play yourself out of potential victories in team fights or the game itself. However, with Baron, they have done quite a bit with it. You know, they've picked up the inhib, they've transitioned to top lane, they've got another objective down there. But again, they're kind of finding themselves in this stalemate situation where they're playing tic-tac-toe with one another. Nothing's really happening at this inhib tower. What I'd quite like to see Guru do is just go down to bot lane, shove it up and take the inner tower down as well. But actually, they are going to get a couple of bits of harassment across the Fabulous, but again, they're not really utilising Baron to its fullest extent.
Yeah, I've got to query why they're not making use of the teleport on Malphite right now. He could be going to that bot lane, and there's a big wave that they need to clear out there. Yeah. He could go and deal with that. They got a hook!
Oh, Thoth is getting absolutely decimated, but he's not dropped, and the Stranglethorns actually picks up the kill on Elise, who seem to be completely isolated from the rest of her team. So Crow Assassin goes down for 50 seconds, the Baron buff on top of that, and if anything, that's just going to make their resolve in pushing this inhib top tower down even less. So I completely agree with what you're saying. You've got to teleport, utilize it. They've landed another death sentence. It's going to go for take number 2 here. Box goes down. Can they go one better? Beautiful equalizer again. Rumble's been on point all game, but LT's positioning questionable at best. In the front lines will be taken down, and in actual fact that's a 3-for-1 trade overall. Yes, they've got Riosta, but now Naru is chasing Jesper very aggressively. Mystic Shot will not seal the deal. The first Electro Harpoon comes out, the second one connecting as well. Jesper's trying his best to escape from the onslaught. Mystic Shot will go awry. Can Fabulous pick up the pace right now? Scrap Shield has been used, has a 2-second cooldown. Its Flash and Ignite are also on cooldown. Well, looks like Rise is going to pick up this kill. It could take a while though, but Naru coming around from the side will signify the end of this one, and Jasper will be falling.
Indeed it will. Did deny Rise that assist gold, I guess, which is a nice little bit of additional help for his team there. But right in that fight, Corki got rooted right at the start. And that, I think, was what cost them so dearly, because he got rooted, then he got booted into the front line by Lee Sin there. And that just kind of spelled the end. And as mentioned before, Guru are dependent on Corki for follow-up damage, and they're only going to get more dependent as time goes on. If he is unable to step up and prevent himself from getting caught like this, he's not going to be achieving very much this game.
It just really confuses me why you'd be in a position as Corki to get caught from grasping roots at the start of the fight. You've got Valkyrie. If the worst comes to the worst and the team fight's kicking off, you can always Valkyrie to the side and put down punishment that way. But realistically, you've got an equalizer in your team, you've got a box. That's a lot of slowing potential. You can be quite a distance behind the rest of your team, and once those two ults land, move yourself into position. The worst possible outcome right now for Guru is having LT crushed at the beginning of a fight. Even if he doesn't die, if he has to Valkyrie out of the fight like there, he's not doing any damage, Spud. And as you say, they're so dependent on him to put down the pain. If he gets caught, they're going to lose this game. They've already slipped from a pretty big lead to just 3,000 now.
Yeah, and you can actually see a ton of wards have been placed down in lines along the jungle. They're trying to prevent Guru from pushing up this mid lane, are relying on that super minion pressure, and then split pushing that other lane, and then switching the main force to that other lane. Now, I like that decision, but the thing is, they're still not strong enough to actually engage. They've got to rely on Naru's poke to such a degree for this game that if he is taken out, they're really going to suffer badly, because they will then not have an answer to the pressure. However, with the Banshees being picked up on 2 members now, it's starting to get to a point where they can't be bursted down as easily, where these squishy characters are having less trouble in the team fights, and they're starting to really outscale in damage. They've just got a ton of it available from almost every source on their team. You know, Lee Sin and Zyra, well, they're probably going to deal quite a lot of damage for their respective character classes, but with 2 AD carries and a Rise, you know, you've got a lot of damage.
Yeah, and we are getting towards that late game that we were saying before, when Rise reaches critical mass, when he is going to become very tanky and very scary. And honestly, I would have liked to have seen Corki here. I'd have liked to have seen LT going for a defensive item, maybe 4th or 5th. But he's just gone full damage. And the problem comes about here, if he had, for example, a Quicksilver Sash or a Guardian's Angel, a lot of the problems that he's faced with being caught from the grasping routes, if he has a Quicksilver Sash, no longer an issue. He just cleanses out and he's fine, re-rotate, and just basically relocate himself in the fight. If he's got a GA, no problems. I've been bursted down, well, now I'm just going to pop back up again. Just going full damage though, it means if he is caught out of position, they're going to have the problem they've been having thus far. Death Sentence will land, they're going in here. They're going really deep, unstoppable force, crescendo, box, all on top of one another, conjecting in, doing so much damage. Here's Corki, however, at the back lines this time. He's not been focused down, he's not been bursted instantly, and you can see the dividends being paid out right now. He is going to be falling, the double kill coming in, and now the double AD carries are just ripping through the side of Guru. The ults were slightly awry there. They did miss off. Ace in the hole comes out. That is going to be the ace. A 1-for-5 trade.
Really, really good. And that is when we can tell that Rise has hit critical mass. He can no longer be bursted down viably. That is really, really, really bad for Guru, because they've basically missed their window of opportunity now. Dark Passage have to make mistakes in these fights now for them to lose out. And they are in position for this next Baron. They should be able to get that no trouble whatsoever. And that puts them ahead. However, Dark Passage are going to take a long time to actually be able to proactively start taking towers themselves, because they have very little engage potential. They have very little CC in general, actually, to be honest. So this game, although it's now turned in Dark Passage's favor, significantly so, it's actually potentially got another, good 10 minutes in it, and I'm, jinxing myself by saying it, unless Guru go for a really bad engage again.
Yeah, I completely agree. It's difficult for Dark Passage to push towers down, because, it's a lot of the problems as to why Guru have been losing the last 3 or 4 team fights. Some of them were because of Corki's positioning. That time around his positioning was okay. I mean, it wasn't perfect, but it was okay. The issue was that they piled all of their ultimates onto just 2 players. Unstoppable Force Equalizer Box was just connecting on 2. The Banshees are going to negate that issue, and here comes Joe's actually with the Insect Mechanics again, just knocking back Dako into harm's way. Naru will be going legendary. I remember that at one stage, Naru was 0-4 in this game. He's now moved to 8-4. So he has been on a roll recently, and we've been talking about how they can't really push very quick. If they do get a free kill on Thresh for 45 seconds in Death Chamber, that's definitely one way to kick things off. Rios to go back in again here, and meanwhile actually got a duel to the death between both LT and Fab. This is what we're talking about. Previously, Corki would have ate Rise up in a heartbeat, and now Rise is far too tanky, doing far too much damage. The AD carry is down for 60 seconds. They've picked up the inhibitor tower. They are going for the inhib as well. Here comes Roasted from the side, and the Stranglethorns going to be knocking Zamano into the air, and the ace in the hole will be finishing off Rumble. And in the blink of an eye, it goes from a massive advantage for Guru Gaming into a certain win here for Dark Passage. Unstoppable Force goes in, but just delaying the inevitable as Malphite will be falling after Crow Assassin will be too. In fact, the Repel comes up, Lee Sin will be dying, but my god, how this game turned.
Yeah, that was a really nice comeback from Dark Passage. And honestly, they were only in this situation in the first place because their team comp honestly sucked. But they really, really didn't do a good job with their early game either. But they came back, they held on, they played to their strengths. And when they finally got that advantage, they finally got that momentum going, they barreled down that mid lane. They picked up several kills, and because the way Guru was so split up, their only real advantage at that stage of the game in their teamfight CC was not even a strength for them, and the fact that Double AD shreds towers like they're paper. Nice comeback and sudden turnaround. Well played by Dark Passage, and I believe that means they move on to the finals now.
They will move on to the finals, so I believe the other 2 teams are Balkan's finest, or Bulgaria's finest, I should say, and Kalu OP. So they're going to be facing up against one of those 2 teams. They've already faced Kalu OP twice in Group A, and they beat them both times. I personally did not see Bulgaria's finest. I believe they were in Group B, Spuddington. Can you shed any light on how they played yesterday, or was it a case that you didn't really watch them very often?
I think we only saw one game from them. They certainly looked solid from what I remember, though. I had a problem with calling them Bulgaria.
Bulgaria. Okay, well, that game was just ridiculous. Again, I don't want to pile it all on Corki, but there was a big part of that for LT, I feel, where he misplayed a few team fights, and their ultimates were good for 90% of that game. Zamano did some awesome unstoppable forces with instant equalizer afterwards, but the last couple fights they're only hitting a small percentage of the team from Dark Passage. And remember, the Banshee's Veils were coming in thick and fast. I honestly feel, again, to repeat myself, Corki should have gone for a defensive item for his 4th or 5th pickup. I'm not too sure why he'd go full damage, because then you're really putting all your eggs in that one basket, Spud. If you die, if you get caught, your team will lose the fight.
Yeah, it was a really difficult situation for him because they were so dependent on his damage, though. It's very hard to know what the right decision would have been in this case. Maybe just better positioning would have made that full damage build work just fine for them. But regardless, guys, I believe we're going to be waiting for a significant amount of time before the next game. I think it
Yeah.
should be a good hour or two,
I
if I'm not
think
wrong.
it's scheduled. Obviously, this is a Bulgarian LAN. They're 2 hours ahead of UK time, 1 hour ahead of Central European time. They're apparently due to start the next game at 1:30 Bulgarian time, which is 11:30 UK time and um, 12:30, sorry, Central European time. So that's scheduled for just over an hour, Spud. Whether they'll play earlier or not, I'm not entirely sure.
Well, we'll see if we can get the next game going a little bit faster than we would have done anyway, guys. But for now, at least, we are going to be going into a break. So keep an eye on our break screen. We will keep you updated on there. So when the next game is ready, we will be right back.